There's a big difference between who I am now and who I was when I was 15. And I think 90% of that comes from my relationship with God. Do I love God enough to get rid of this porn addiction that I was on, or do I not? Fight for God and for your relationship with Him, and things work out the rest of the time.
Kill Complacency, a podcast that inspires growth and intentionality and helps you overcome your greatest obstacles.
That is one of the pitfalls I see of having so much access on our phones, whatever we're doing it to look at, whether it's even social media. I think social media can be a big drag. But replacing it with the real. And I think that God gives us the real, and He wants us to experience the real life. And Satan, who is less powerful than God, gives us his best, which is an invitation of the real deal. And instead of experiencing the real deal, for instance, hunting tickets to go hunting are way down. Why? Because men are getting that fulfillment in a video game. Hunting and fishing. I mean, you could say sexuality in marriage, because one or both spouses are getting it, self-fulfilled elsewhere. So there's all kinds of illustrations of God's second best, maybe not even God's second best, but Satan's best invitation of what God has created to give us fulfillment. But at the end of the day, it doesn't. And so I think that's really key. The way I wrote it down is to be intentional with real life. And you have to be, it takes intentionality, because it's way harder to read a real book. When I grew up, we had Reader's Digest in our bathroom. Why? Because we didn't have phones. You don't see any magazines on toilets anymore. But back in the day, when you went in there and you were going to be there for a little bit, you wanted some time alone, you'd read Reader's Digest. And now we go our phone. Yeah. If you want the bathroom freed up now, what do? You kill the power. So everybody uses the internet.
Turn off the light.
Yeah. So I think that's really good. Experience real life and be intentional about it. Because if we're not intentional about real life, we will fall for fake. And it will be processed foods, it will be pornography, it will be video games, it will be social media. Social media is not real either. We only see people's best image of themselves with filters sometimes. So I think that's really good. I just wanted to say that.
Well, it ultimately comes back to what are you living for? Like we have to claim our heart back. Like, God's given each one of us our own heart, right? With our own desires, like, with the DNA and stuff. Each individual DNA is different from you to me to every single person on the world, right? So what is it, the things that God created you to do that really just stir your heart? Is it music? Is it, playing sports? Is it this, right? And don't settle for the fake, settle for the real, Find the things that are real in your life to be able to take up your time and attention and stuff. And then that's when you start really seeing some growth in this stuff,
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. So then the fourth thing in this, so you had the quit cold turkey first, the hard and fast rules, make your life the adventure. The fourth thing is I made friends and community, right? So having a community and an accountability group. So in order to get over porn, you have to have somebody else that can hold you accountable, right? Whether it's your spouse or a friend, I'd recommend a friend, preferably, just because then it can keep some other marital issues from popping up. But have somebody who can hold you accountable, right? That they say, no. You said you were only going to play video games after this year is over. Like, why have you stopped? Keep going, Somebody who can push you forward. And then also, somebody that you can have friends and community doing other things, right? Is there a buddy who can go do running with you? Because I know you do a lot of running. Yeah. Is there somebody that can go play sports or sing with you? Whatever floats your boat. Having other people, because we were built for community, right? And so having other people to be able to do stuff with was the other big thing. So
that's good.
If you
want to wear a billboard of a message of kill complacency or live intentionally, then check out my merch store. It's www.mindsetshop.com. Mindset is with an X, so it's MINDXET shop, SHOP.com. Mindsetshop.com. Micah, you mentioned earlier relationship with Jesus. How does that play into this? How does that play into this conversation? And maybe, answer that, and then I got another question for you.
Yeah. Well, first off, it doesn't make sense to not do the other things if you don't believe in a God who's loving and kind. Because ultimately, it's just selfishness, right? And it's been proven that there's a bunch of other bad things. But if we're going to go to the root cause, like doing porn or playing video games is just selfishness, right? I'm the only important thing in this world. And you have this inflated view of yourself that just grows bigger and bigger. Like, I am the most important thing in the world, right? So we have a bunch of narcissists.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if we have a God who is loving and kind, and then the whole story of Jesus coming back, right? Then your story is so small compared to the big story of what's going on, right? And so it's like this getting focused and repurposed on what your life actually matters, right? If there's a life afterwards, right? If you're living like that, then you're not prepared for the life afterwards, right?
Sure.
Whereas if you're living intentionally, right, the spiritual things of this world, those are the things that keep living on, right? The flesh, that dies, all those things go away, right? Physical training is of some use, but spiritual training is of much more use. And so when I was raised up, I felt like it was super important my whole life, and this is something I feel pretty proud about, to be intentional about how I spend my time with God. When I was 13 or 14, I started the habit of doing a daily quiet time. Before then, I really hadn't had a specific daily quiet time. It was like, I should probably pray, I should probably do this stuff, but it wasn't set in stone.
Yeah.
After that point in time, it was set in stone that every single day, every single morning, I was going to wake up and do that, right? Because in the Bible it says, do not conform to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right? And so I wanted to renew my mind in God every single day. And I specifically got that from Worldview Academy, which is a wonderful, wonderful place. Taught me a bunch of different stuff about God and spirituality and evangelism and all that stuff. But those two things specifically got me to move towards having a daily quiet time with God, which led to a bunch of this growth that's happened in my life, because as I've gotten to know God more and more, the things that maybe I used to like, I've started to hate.
Micah, why do people avoid spirituality? I mean, a lot of, I believe we all subscribe to a higher being. And maybe that looks different for different people, but why do we avoid it? Why do we not pursue growing spiritually?
Well, I think number one is that you have an enemy,
okay,
that's seeking to steal, kill, and destroy, right? The devil doesn't want you to have any sort of relationship with God, right? He's going to try everything that he can. And so he will lie to you and tell you, you know what, this spirituality thing sounds pretty good, but you don't believe that, do you? Right? Like, what about all these, secular things that we've learned, science and all this stuff? You don't really believe that there's a God like that. And even if you do, you know what? You're unqualified. You know what? You've just blew it. Like, your life stinks already. Would really a God like you really, And I mean, those types of things can keep you so far away from spirituality, right? And so that's why we as Christians need to be out evangelizing, telling people, no. Like, there is a God. He does love you, and he loves you so much that he gave his son. And grace and forgiveness are part of that package, right? Doesn't matter how much you've blown it. God made it so stupid that the hardest thing in this world, the most important decision you can ever make, is also the easiest decision you could ever make. All you have to do is just put your faith in God, right? Like, there's not a whole bunch of rules or regulations and stuff. You just have to do that one thing, and then boom, you've covered it.
Sure.
Like, it's amazing. And so we as Christians need to be out evangelizing stuff. And so that's why I do one other thing that I'm pretty intentional about. There's a group called the Navigators. And I went to a conference of theirs not too long ago, and one of the guys was talking about Bible memorization, right? Memorizing Bible verses. And I was like, okay, that's probably a good thing to do, right? But I really have subscribed to it. So this little thing kind of looks like a wallet, okay? And it holds all of the Bible verses that I have memorized that I'm currently working on memorizing. And in the little front, it has one specific memory verse that I'm working on right now, working on learning. And all the rest of these I have that I'll pull out every once in a while to do it. This is my thing that I will take to the restroom to use instead of my phone. To be intentional with my time, to be able to memorize Bible verse. Because for evangelizing, meditation, for fighting temptation, like all these things, and loving God, those are all different reasons why I memorize Bible verses, and it's really impacted my life in a bunch of ways. So if you're a Christian and you haven't worked on memorizing Bible verses, just start with some of the basics ones you can use for evangelizing, right? For Romans 3:23, all have sinned, fall short of the glory of God, right? 6:23, Romans 6:23, the wages of sin is death, right? But the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus. And tell them just the basic story of the gospel.
Sure.
Because then you can get out there and actually spread the good news, which is what we were told to do in the first place. So
Micah, that's how you memorize. What are some things you do from a practical side? Because I know Keziah does too. And maybe I should say, what do you guys do as a couple to spur each other on toward loving good
be
deeds?
intentional for Christianity.
Yeah, because I know you guys, I know my daughter, and she loves to check the box. So could you talk a little bit about your relationship and what a normal daily, maybe morning routine or evening routine looks like for you guys?
Yeah. So, it's changed over the years. But like I said, the most important thing for me is having a quiet time every morning. And God's been good. He's been giving us enough time to be able to do something like that. So we'll wake up in the morning, first thing, and a goal that I had this year, and I'm going to change it, but I had a goal this year to read through the Bible read through the New Testament in 3 years, 30 times through. So basically, taking 8 chapters of Scripture, reading that same 8 chapters over and over and over and over and over again until a month has passed. Then you move to the next passage, and then I'll eventually, in 3 years, get through that. I think I'm going to make it 15, though, because 8 chapters has kept me from doing some other things that I hold are really important, like praying. I've not been doing as good with praying and stuff, and worshiping. I've not listened to very much worship music, and I think all those three things combined lead to a spiritual life, right? Because she does a really great job. Every morning she goes up, does her prayer, does her reading of her Bible and stuff. And so in the morning, the very first thing we do is just those types of things to be able to work together to do that. And so that's one way that we definitely do it. But it's also what movies we watch and stuff that we put in our bodies too. Like, we don't watch things that say Jesus' name in vain, which is really hard.
Mike, I want to talk about this for a sec, because I know when you guys first got married, you guys kind of drove us nuts, because for 6 months, it seemed like you guys ate junk food and watched movies.
Yeah.
And you just kind of went on a binge. You guys were out of the home, living life.
Yeah.
So what happened at the end of that period that made you say, hey, we need more rules and regulations?
Yeah. It was kind of the moment that we just realized we didn't have any money in the bank. To be honest, more than anything else, it was just, oh man, this costs a lot, and we didn't really budget super well. That first, we were trying to figure out so much, and we did not do a very good job. We went straight down, diving through. We watched, I'm not going to say what TV shows are in case you just hate me and you're like, oh, well, I love that show. We watched some TV shows we shouldn't have, movies we shouldn't have watched either, just because we realized at this moment, we can do whatever we want now.
Yeah.
There's no dad or mom telling us that we've got to not do this or whatever. And we're pretty mature people, so we're ready to do stuff like this. We can watch this. But man, I don't know what really changed. It was this moment that we just kind of realized, wait a minute, maybe our parents were right.
Everything in moderation.
Maybe moderation is kind of good. It's not maybe so good to watch a movie every single day of the week. It kind of makes you tired in the morning. Maybe it's not such a good idea to eating the food that we eat, because it's bad whenever it gets in the wintertime and you get sick. I remember my birthday's in January, and I had a 7-year straight run of always getting sick on my birthday, every single year. And, you start realizing, man, maybe the food that I'm eating has to do with the sickness and stuff. And, you don't have as much drive to do that. And so, you start with little things. My wife and I, we wanted to work out more, so we started playing pickleball. You know, that was fun for both of us, but it also got us out there, and we'd wake up pretty early, 6, 7,
Yeah.
go out there and do that after we do our quiet time, and we'd do that, and then eventually we're like, oh, okay, well, let's replace this with this, and we just worked on one thing at a time. First it may have been, okay, instead of watching movies, what can we do otherwise? Let's read a book. Cool. Something else we can do, and we'd replace these little things in our lives, and we continue to do that, because really the truth is, the lie that people get told is that they can stay the same. They can plateau. You know what? We made it to a pretty good life. We're still doing some bad things, but it's not that bad. We're not, Mother Teresa, but we're okay. But the truth is, if you're stagnant, you're actually going down. You're either moving up or going down in your spiritual walk. And so we chose to continue to find little things that we can work on to do it. And obviously you have little
Sure.
bumps and stuff, and sometimes we're way more motivated than others, but it's something that was really worth it.
Over the years, I have been coached by countless mentors, and now I want to offer that to you as well. How? By Marty Hofmann's Life Coaching. This will be a 6-week program in which I will guarantee you will develop a more growth mindset. We will set goals and learn about the importance of the processes and habits behind those goals. I will also help you see your story differently as things happening for you, not to you. We will also be discussing your future self and give you clarity on who that is and what it looks like. For more information, please follow the link below or hop on martyhoffman.com and follow the coaching link. Talk to me about someone that's trying to build their spiritual routine. What advice would you give to them? So they've listened to this and they're like, he's right, but I've tried to read my Bible, and basically when I go to church on Sunday, I pull it out, and while the preacher's preaching, I read some chapters. How can people build routine in their life where it's normal to wake up and read their Bible first thing?
There's a book called Atomic Habits. You've read it before. And it talks about making goals easy. I think the number one thing you can do is make it easy. Make it easy. Make it the first thing you do in the morning so you don't have to think about it, right? You wake up, oh, there's your Bible sitting right next to you. And now don't take it right back into bed because you're going to fall asleep. But have it like out on a couch or something. Make this one spot, you go there every morning and you read through like one chapter of the Bible. Pretty easy. And make it systematic to where you work through the whole Bible. Don't just go like, okay, God, give me something today. And then you read, something that is completely irrelevant to what you're going through. Like actually work through the New Testament. Pick a book like John or Mark or, 1 Corinthians, one of those types of things that are good ones. And make it the same time, the same place every morning, the first thing that you do. Because otherwise, the day goes by and all of a sudden, oh man, you've gone and done this. So something that I've worked on this last year to be really intentional is at my office, as an insurance agent, work comes up, a bunch of different stuff comes up. And I have a temptation before I like as soon as I get in the office to just immediately go to work, immediately do stuff. But I've really been trying to work on my spiritual walk to give God the first minutes in my office. So what I do is, there's something called the 1 Minute Pause app. I'd highly recommend it. It's an app by John Eldredge. He just basically gives you a pause to listen through and kind of get yourself back into God and to remind yourself that He's actually there, And so what I'll do is every single day I get in my office, I put my computer bag up, put all the different stuff that I brought, set it down, and then I walk outside because I have a nice little pathway that goes behind my office. And I'll walk the pathway listening to the pause every single day at work without missing a beat before I do any of the work. Because if I start doing the work and I want to go do it later, it's never going to happen. It has to be the first thing. So that's what I would say number one. And then the other thing, if church is the only time you take it out, make another day another church. Like go to a Bible study, like find a bunch of other believers that want to kind of grow in their walk too and meet with them once a week. Whether it's a breakfast with some buddies, with some guys, or whether it's an evening that you just go and you study the Bible. Like find other days of the week that you can do other than just Sunday, because 2 days is better than one. So,
something else that I do is, like for years I've always set out my clothes the night before. And I'll do the same thing with my Bible. I'll set it on the counter because I know I'm going to get, we're creatures of routine. And I get up, I walk in the kitchen, I turn on the light. And if I'll set out my Bible, my journal, a lot of times my water jug as well, they're right there. It's the first thing I see. But if we leave our Bible in the shelf or in the car, guess what? We don't see it. So James Clear would talk about that. Atomic Habits, making them easy. You want to eat more apples, put apples on on a plate in the kitchen, guess what? You'll eat more apples. But if you put them in the bottom shelf in the fridge, you're not going to eat more apples.
You know, and that's kind of why whenever I'm on trips, it's the hardest because I'm out of my routine. You know, if I'm just back at the house.
Yeah, and the
same place,
Bible's
same
tucked in your suitcase.
Yeah, because do I really want to go get it out of my bag, out of the car? Maybe I'll just pray. And then the prayer lasts like 2 minutes and then you're done. You know, like you lose the routine that you did. Like if you're traveling or you're doing stuff like that, that's always the hardest.
Micah, we often talk about fighting complacency. How do you personally stay focused on growth when comfort and distractions come up?
Yeah, that's
Is
really good.
it habit or is it just want? I mean, what?
So I think it kind of, I've said it a couple times before, I think it comes back to replacing, right? So I had a really good example of this that somebody told me once. So imagine that in here, you can just, with your hand, grab all of the sinfulness that you've been dealing with or all the distraction, whatever else, you can just pull it out, okay? And that would be great if it could just stay out here. But the truth is, the Bible says this, Jesus says this, like once you get rid of one demon, 7 demons more worse than the one before will come back and inhabit you, right? So what he said, it's like a pulley system. You pull out, and then when you let go, all of a sudden, it comes right back in, right? You're just a pulley in your heart. It just goes out and back in, right? Over and over again. So what you have to do is you have to pull it out over here, and then you have to reach over here and grab like the good things and replace it back in. So that way when it tries to come back in, it can't because the rope has pulled enough through, right? So we're just constantly doing this in our lives, right? And so if it's distraction, right? Instead of being distracted, choose to use different things during that time. Have a list, like if you're working or whatever else, and then you have a free moment at work that you usually just pop up, look at the scores, have something else instead. Like have your Bible there. Oh, I'm going to read Psalm 1 today. That's something that I have it, right? And then make it measurable and make it enjoyable, right? You're trying to win the games ultimately of trying to get better and better in your life. And so that's how I fight complacency. It's just like, okay, I see this one thing in my life that's not working. Let me try and replace it with something else. Because whenever I just say that bad thing, I'm going to take it out, there's a gap of something that I've always done there. So that's what I would recommend to believers, especially young believers too. That's super important.
That's good. I have 3 more questions for you as we wrap this up. Number 1, what advice would you give? I normally say 20-year-old self, but I'm going to ask you,
I was going to say, that's not too far away.
What advice would you give to your 15-year-old self?
Oh, man. You know, there's a big difference between who I am now and who I was when I was 15. And I think 90% of that comes from my relationship with God. Do I love God enough to get rid of this porn addiction that I was on? Or do I not? And if I had chosen back then, at that point in time, like right when I was 15, to fight temptation and stuff, I mean, who knows what my life would look like right now. But, you know, it is what it is and you live with what you got.
Sure.
But that's what I would say is just fight for God and for your relationship with Him and things work out the rest of the time.
That's good. That's really good. Okay, next question. What is your favorite book?
Man,
or
I was thinking about this. So if you don't know me, I love reading books. I read so many books. This was something that came out of homeschooling, you know, because I was homeschooled, I read so many books. And I thought long and hard about this. So if you were to just ask me what my favorite book is, and I think that's what I'll say, is The Count of Monte Cristo. Okay? It's an old book, but it's the greatest story. They made it into a movie. So if you want to watch the movie, it's okay.
Say it again, Count.
The Count of Monte Cristo. Monte Cristo is a place. And so if you were to ask people who've only watched the movie, is it a good story? They'd say, yeah, it's a good story. But the people who've read the book know. It is the most epic story of like the transformation of a man, right? You have this young man, he's accused. He didn't do anything wrong, but these people, because they were trying to steal stuff from him, like somebody wanted his wife, and then another person wanted to hide the fact that he was actually, you know, in this dark thing. They send him off to jail, accuse him of something that he didn't do, right? He's a good man, and then he goes to prison just with anger in his heart. He's so frustrated about these people. And then there's this abbot that was in jail too, who works on teaching him, you know, what does it mean to grow and learn and do stuff. And so he becomes a super refined young man. And then eventually the abbot dies, but when he does, he escapes from prison. Okay? So when he escapes, he goes and his one thought is just revenge. I'm going to get back at these people that hurt my life. And he goes and he does. 1, 2, and then the final guy, he has mercy on. And it's like this transformation of this revenge to realizing, man, it's not in revenge, it's in mercy. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. So if anybody has a chance to read it, I would recommend it. But kind of on our topic point, Pilgrim's Progress, great book. One that like has to do with what you're actually talking about. You know,
no, it's fine. It's
like
your favorite book.
Yeah,
that's good.
But it's a good book. So,
and my last question, Micah, final message. This is your final message. This is your last recording. You die in a car wreck on the way to your mom's birthday tonight. Happy birthday, Katie.
Yeah, happy birthday, Mom.
What do you want the world to know? What is Micah's story? What's the message on the tombstone?
I would say look head on into your wound. Actually work on it, because unless you work on that, it's going to keep affecting all of the rest of your life. If you don't deal with the wound, it's going to keep you from growing the way you want to. So, in my experience, that's
that's good.
Key.
That's good. Well, thank you, Micah. It's been a pleasure. How do people follow all that good stuff? Are you on social media?
No, I'm not. The only thing I have is a YouTube account, which I'm starting with my barbershop quartet called Sibling Rivalry Quartet. So if you like barbershop, that's it. But that doesn't have anything to do with what I'm talking about.
Otherwise, Micah sells insurance.
If you want to get a hold of me, just talk to Marty. He and I see each other pretty much once a week because we're related. So other than that, yeah, sell insurance. So you can find me at Montgomery Integrity Insurance. But appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to thank you guys for listening to the end. In closing, I just wanted to add that if this message resonates with you, if it aligns with your values, and something in it today triggered something, then you can also look me up on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. We are really trying to help people live more intentional lives, to kill the complacency with which they have subscribed to. I know there's many ways in which I get sucked in all the time. So if this is beneficial, follow me there.